My next guest is one of the stars of the highly acclaimed Broadway musical Follies, which you have read about, and a veteran of over 40 films, as they say. And she left Hollywood and hasn't made one for some time, but Walter Kerr called her dazzling, svelte, poised, and altogether glorious, and that wasn't sufficient. If you see her in this thing, you just cannot take your eyes off her. Will you welcome, please, the lovely Alexis Smith. Very nice to see you. This is one of those things where I can't quite believe it, so you'll have to
What can't you believe?
That you're here. You'll have to help me through this interview and fill in the gaps and all those things. Follies is a startling show to see. I didn't know what I was getting in for somehow. For some reason, even though I had read about it, I thought it was. It's a haunting show. Did you get that reaction?
Yes. Well, I think audiences can appreciate it on various levels. Mm-hmm. And when someone says it's a haunting show, I think it's more perceptive than perhaps some of the audiences who are more interested in just the entertainment value of the show. But it does have that certainly as well.
It has all that. It's a spectacle and all of those things, and all the things you would look for in just what they say, just a musical. But there's something more to it.
Well, indeed, and I think certainly the concept of the entire production, which is of Michael Bennett and Hal Prince and the ghosts and all that moving constantly in juxtaposition with the reality of today, is must be. I'd love to see it, as a matter of fact, because it must be quite wonderful to watch.
I never thought of that, but a performer in a great show never has any idea the effect of that show because he can't see it. Is there any way you could get someone to go on for you some night? Is there anyone who looks enough like you that...
I don't think they'd be too pleased if that were the case.
I guess that's asking too much. I said 40 movies. Is that a round number, a rounded off number?
Yes, I think it's a rounded off number because I really don't remember.
And you quit Hollywood? Would that be a fair way of putting it?
Well, I would say no, a fairer way of putting it would be Hollywood quit me. I almost got a laugh.
I've had that feeling many times. But how do you mean that?
Well, nobody asked me to make a movie, so I just didn't make any more. And
who did they have that was better? I would have asked them that if I were you.
Everyone doesn't seem to have your opinion.
How do you stand for that? You hated some of them, didn't you, the films you made?
Oh, yes. Not hated, but I thought they were really not very worthwhile. And I'm always amused when people call me and say, oh, do you know so-and-so is going to be on tonight at 3 o'clock in the morning or something?
A film you made with Errol Flynn or something?
And I never watched them because, for the most part, they weren't awfully good then, and I'm sure they haven't improved with age. And
they don't.
And I have no association with that lady. I sit and look and say, that's me, and don't really believe it. So, and don't see much reason to stay up till 3 to try and convince myself.
Yeah. So you won't watch them. You make a point of not watching them.
It isn't won't. I just don't. There are other things I'd rather do, as a matter of fact.
If you could burn 3 of them, which ones would they be?
Oh.
It's a terrible question.
Oh, no, I don't. I wouldn't care to burn any of them. No, there aren't any that... there were a couple at Universal. One in which I played a shoplifter, which I don't think is awfully good.
A shoplifter? What was that?
Do you know, I don't remember the name of it. Why is that funny?
Well, I don't know. Maybe the fact that maybe they think you've repressed the name of it, or maybe the idea that someone could be in so many movies that they could forget the names of them.
Well, that's true. I remember when I first started working, and I can't remember, I was working with a very well-known actor. I mean, maybe it was Flynn or Murray or someone like that, and we're talking about a film that they had done, and they couldn't remember the name, and I was absolutely appalled by the remark, because I thought if you were ever fortunate enough to do something as wonderfully exciting as a motion picture, you certainly wouldn't forget it, and here am I guilty of the same thing.
Yeah. Do you want to do movies again, or do you care? Could you take it or leave it?
Well, I don't care all that much about pursuing a career. I do care about working a great deal when I do work. I would like, yes, I think it would be if the film were interesting. And I must say today, I think for the most part, they are far more interesting than they were in the 40s, because that really was escapist entertainment then. And the films that are being made today, I think, are far more valuable, more interesting, and more creative, and there's more creative talent, true creative talent involved. For example, I saw Panic in Needle Park the other day, and I was very impressed with that, and I'm a big fan of Al Pacino's, and I would love to work with Jerry Schatzberg. I think he's a brilliant director, and that would be a stimulating and interesting experience for me.
I'll help you.
Will you? You get me a job?
Yeah. You fell on stage one night. Now, you are the... I don't know when I've been so knocked out by somebody on a stage as I was the other night, and I couldn't imagine that you could have any faults, let alone falling. Did you do a real pratfall on the
Yes,
stage?
Yes, indeed I did.
How did you do it?
It comes as such a shock when everything's going along rather nicely and you find yourself sitting in the middle of the stage suddenly, you know.
How do you handle that?
Well, I laughed a lot.
Yeah.
Because, first of all, I think the audience is always concerned as to whether or not a person has hurt themselves.
Yeah.
And if you're laughing a lot, obviously you're all right. Or else you're demanded, you know, as a result of the experience.
Only when I laugh.
Yes.
Yeah. And you were not hurt, and you were amused.
Yes, well,
Yeah.
I don't know how else to get out of it. And then they applauded, which I thought was very nice, and I thought I should acknowledge that. Also, I was trying to, now, you know, the interesting thing about something like that happening in a musical number, if it's a dramatic scene, you can take your own time in pulling yourself together and getting back into it. But the orchestra keeps going. They don't stop and wait for you to...
That would be frightening.
You know, and then suddenly you hear the music and you have no idea where you are. Or how many bars have passed.
And to catch up, do you have to go through all of the number real fast to get up to the point
double
where you want
time
to
to
go?
get, you know. But the funny thing about it is, if you recall in that particular number, there are 16 dancers behind me, and they're all working upstage. I'm the only one facing front. And the thing that flashed through my mind when it happened was the frustration, you know, of 16 minds hearing this awful thud and not knowing what happened, you know, and they couldn't turn around to look.
Thinking, I hope it's not her. Or
I hope
she,
she's
or
not in
whatever.
the pit, or, you know.
Yeah. Oh, boy. That's really... I don't know what it is that you do to me. Do you have any idea? And let me ask you... I don't know what
I think we better start from the top on that.
I don't know where to go with that. I was... If we were in high school together, let's say...
You want to go steady?
Well... Please, don't make it any harder for me than it is. Suppose we were in high school and you couldn't get a date with the 2 or 3 guys that you wanted to, and the prom were coming up. Would you consider me, I mean, if I were...
Listen,
I mean,
I would have been so delighted to have you around at that time, because I didn't have a date and nobody asked me.
You too?
Yes.
Oh, no. Terrible.
They're clapping in sympathy.
That's
I
right.
think that's very nice.
For
Thank
2
you.
wallflowers. No, that was always my problem. And
me
you would have
too.
been the kind of person that I just wouldn't have been able to talk to. I would have gone home at night and had terrific fantasy conversations with you.
And said nothing.
And
well,
probably
yes.
come around to your house and looked in the windows and things. Well, I was a little weird.
I was going to say.
but I wouldn't.
I don't know whether I want to have a date with you or not.
No, if I said too much, I've ruined it already. Oh, no. See, when you find out about me, you don't want... But so the answer is a sort of yes. Gee, I'm going to live my
What do you
life
mean,
over.
sort of yes?
Yeah.
Yes,
But what-
because I must say, as a matter of fact, I finally got a date graduation night. The last moment, you know, which makes you, really does a lot for your ego. Because they've been through the whole class, and I was the only one left, I presumed. And the young man with whom I had a date then went up to Oregon for the summer, and he sent me the little drum, you know, the souvenir shop kind of thing.
Yeah.
And on it, he had written, "Listen to the beat of my heart." So I think he would have come up with something better than that,
I
so I
hope
would have
so.
opted for you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's really romantic.
Is
drum.
it? Yes. I hadn't thought of that no more.
Yeah. I haven't sent drums in years.